Okay, part two. So sorry that I had to cut off that last stream so suddenly. A lot of you know this might look like a really fancy pants studio, but it is just a corner in my basement. Yes, I am a libertarian basement dweller, and I do hope at least some of you come back. Had decent amount of people on the last stream, but you know, life happens and you have to be open for it. So here we go. We're going to start this all over again. I privated the other stream so that future viewers just don't get thoroughly confused. And no, the house wasn't burning down. Everything is good. We're all good down here. We're fine. How are you? All right, if you are new to this channel or you are returning, I feel like I just did this 5 minutes ago. Please subscribe, maybe give it a like or a dislike. Engagement is engagement, and perhaps share it if there is a political history buff, particularly a libertarian one in your life. You can give me a follow on X Twitter. I am Karen Ann Harlos, and please come back to the chat. Samuel, I do hope you are back. And last but not least, you can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. And what I was reminding people of before, my tippity top tier supporters do get a lot of perks, such as you get a free t-shirt a year. You get a question, like if there's a topic that you'd like me to address, and I think I can do it justice. The one that was, does libertarianism permit voluntary slavery? That was a sponsor request, and I do see Samuel is back. And just go check it out on the patron page. And while we are at it, I'm sure this is like deja vu to you, Sam. I am one of my top sponsors, so I'm going to be promoting books that I really do enjoy as a kid at heart. I don't have children myself, but I think these would be totally cute as we're heading into the holiday season that you may wish to pick up for the young person in your life. It is Sean Dempsey, S-E-A-N, out of New Hampshire, so a libertarian author, and you can find these on Amazon. It's Ava in the Storm or A Tale of Two Brothers. And I didn't get to show this so well last time, but the drawings are just so bright and colorful and adorable. So thank you very, very much, Sean. Now we're going to get right into the history. I have some things queued up, and also remember, all super chats and super thanks matter. They all matter. We're not going to read this entire article. As I've been somewhat complaining about this issue of LP News, I think it's got too much. It's like War and Peace here, people. It's too much. Like, I like libertarian stuff as much as the next person. When I look at it and I'm like, this looks exhausting, no. And speaking of exhausting and other third-party news, I just read that article in Politico, which you can look up, as to why Cornel West dumped the Green Party after he had already dumped the People's Party. Like, hopefully no one touches this guy with a 10-foot pole. He's proven himself extremely disloyal. But he was upset when he found out that he didn't get an automatic coronation, that he actually had to work for the nomination, even though with Jill Stein being his campaign manager, it was pretty much guaranteed. But like, the quote from him was like, I gotta attend Green Party events? Oh, this sounds like so much work. What a frickin' princess. You know what, Greens? You're better without them. You don't need Princess in the P. No. So now back to LP News. So we have a Rothbard article, and it says, Rothbard, the timing is right. And what's so funny about this article is it almost reflects current controversies. When I'm at the storage facility, one thing I enjoy so much about the party history is that it grounds me. If you're wondering why some of the current drama doesn't entirely faze me, and in fact, somewhat irritates me that people are acting like the sky is falling. If you were to come down to the storage facility or just peruse through Lpedia, you will see that none of this is new. Now, maybe that may make you a little sad, but humans are going to human. This is actually not the most dramatic the party has ever been. The drama started within a year of its founding. Like I was saying to the historical committee, I was like, I saw this letter from somebody immediately after California being affiliated was writing the National Party on their typewriter, demanding that the National Party remove the California chair. We are just overwrought, dramatic type of people. And I'm sure the other parties have this too. I don't care. I'm not in them. Libertarians are into it, man. We are super into it. So take heart. There's nothing new. And again, that might make you lose heart a little. I hope not. We're just very passionate. In 5 years, there will be some other big controversy. What's so funny is with the alleged controversies of today, everyone forgot how dramatic 2020 was with Nick Sarwark going off the rails and plotting behind the scenes to try to torpedo a physical convention. Like, that was super dramatic. Everyone forgot about Joe Bishop Henchman trying to arrange a backroom coup of the New Hampshire party, and we still don't know, though I have a really good idea, I just can't prove it, who his co-conspirator was. That stuff was really earth-shattering. And people forgot, like, the big one in my life, the way the last LNC corruptly tried to remove me. But if you forget even about all of that, you go back to 2008, where what was done to me was attempted to be done to Angela Keaton. None of these things are new. Anyway, none of the article I'm going to read is actually about any present. It's kind of about present controversies, though. Rothbard is making a point that people make today because it's a constant argument, or debate would be the word I'd prefer to use. And I'm going to do a show on this, by the way. Justin Amash caused a little bit of a stir. And by the way, I adore Justin. We don't agree on some things, but I adore Justin. He caused a little bit of a stir with a tweet that he made that I completely disagree with him on. But what's funny is if you yank things out of historical context, which is what I believe he did, you could read something from Rothbard in this article, and you would think it was current Justin Amash. Now, Rothbard certainly believed in activists in the party, but he was also very electoral-minded. Now, I would not presume, well, actually, this probably isn't presumption, because Rothbard was a brilliant man, but very difficult to get along with. Kind of like Ayn Rand, who is more difficult. Brilliant woman, extraordinarily difficult to get along with. Rothbard laid waste to nearly every relationship he had in the party. But I would tend to think that at least in the mindset that he's trying to express here, I'm much more in line with Rothbard than the modern Justin Amash, that I think the party can do both, and that we need to play to strengths. And actually, Arvind Vohra made the best case. And I think and I'll get into this in another show, because I am going to do a whole show on this. I promised D.L. Cummings that I would. That I want to show that some of the opposing view, you guys aren't reading the bylaws right. And we're going to go through that, and that's okay. But let's read, again, just a portion of this article from Rothbard. Oh, I'm trying to, did I lose it? Oh, right here. The sub part of this is entitled Propaganda Shibboleths. Shibboleth is, there's a lot of words in these old LP news that we just don't use anymore. They had a much better vocabulary for communicating liberty, I think. So this is what Rothbard had said. We have now seen through the propaganda shibboleths, which we're going to be going through now. I mean now as in present with everything that's going on in the world, of the Cold War and of global intervention, just as we long ago cast out the shibboleths of government intervention within our country. We've got both now. I mean, we're in some really troubled times. Now, I love this sentence, and this is something that I could have tweeted out yesterday. We proudly define ourselves not as a conservative party, not as a liberal party, and I'm going to add parentheses, classical or otherwise, but as a libertarian party, which is different from both of those points of view, with our own distinctive ideology and our own unique appeal to all classes and ranks of Americans. We have begun to learn, too, to subordinate our factional squabbling. There was factional squabbling in 1976. Do you want to talk about drama? Remember, the Dallas Accord was in 1974. That was quite dramatic. And I think that is what Rothbard is alluding to when he said we subordinated our factional squabbles. All I've got to say to 1976 Rothbard is, hold our beer. Ha ha! You haven't seen anything yet. Buckle up, bucko. Okay, we have begun to learn to subordinate our factional squabbling over the form that the ultimate libertarian society should take. Okay, we have different squabbles today. So he is referring to the Dallas Accord, because the Dallas Accord was, what's the end game? What's libertopia? And he's like, we have put that aside. And actually, I think we have been pretty successful in putting that aside. It's funny that Justin Amash's name will again come into this conversation, because there's another point that he's wrong on. He's like, there's a difference between libertarianism and anarchism. On one point, if you want to be overly pedantic, he's correct, where if you got into Michael Malice's book, the black flag has many colors, as Michael Malice says. But if we're talking about non-aggression principle adhering anarchists, no, the libertarianism is not different. Anarchism of that kind, NAP adhering anarchism, is a subset of libertarians. Like, it's funny that I think that is just as short-sighted, and if it was from somebody who wasn't as nice, it's kind of a real douche thing to say, just like when anarchists say that menarchists aren't libertarians. Like, I get equally pissed off at both of those points of view. Now, I'll say I think menarchists are inconsistent, and just like menarchists will think that anarchists are wrong. I think we'll live, but we shouldn't be trying to write each other out of the Statement of Principles, which was amended in 1974 to make this point clear. And it just really is aggravating when someone 50 years later think that they can redefine the Statement of Principles. This dispute was settled in the party in 1974 with the amendment of the Statement of Principles. Alrighty, so not that these ultimate issues are not important. They are, and of course they are. But we have now realized that we are, at this point, so far removed from any of our ultimate goals that it would be sheer folly to split or cast each other into outer darkness over these issues. Preach it, Brother Murray. We have begun to recognize that there is far more to unite us than to drive us apart, and that within the broad mansions of libertarianism, it is folly to do other than to unite in our common cause. Finally, we have come to realize that short-term demands and rolling back the state do not have to contradict our long-run goal of complete liberty. And this our platforms have widely recognized. So he is dealing with the Dallas Accord, because earlier he says, I'm convinced with this platform, this convention marks a great milestone in the history of the young and growing Libertarian Party. Though I think he is referring to the continued maturity of the platform, because this is 1976, so there were some intervening conventions. So it might not directly be referring to the Dallas Accord, but I think you can hear the echoes of it in here. Okay. Now, here's which this will sound like a very fresh dispute. To form a real political party means to try to gain as many votes for the party as possible. Now, he didn't believe in compromising principles to do that. For a party without votes quickly becomes a laughingstock, and that's true. You have to do both. He talked about the ideology earlier, and now he's dealing with the part where there is political realities. He says, our task is to cleave to principle, and while doing so, spread our message and gain as many votes as we can. Okay, I'm just going see if there's anything else. Oh, well, here's where he goes all over the country. The existence of the Libertarian Party has expanded our number and has given heart to libertarians who had begun to despair of any outlet for libertarian activity. Okay. Let me see if there is anything. So I would highly recommend you read this like super long article, but from Rothbard. But I just wanted to highlight something that seems like it could have been written today. Let's see if there's anything else here. Oh, since he mentioned the platform, let's deal with this part of this issue, which says Convention Rights 1976 platform. And that's what we'll conclude with tonight, because these little history segments I try to keep under 30 minutes. Animated but orderly debate at the New York City Convention produced a longer and more detailed LP platform, which aimed at treatment of the salient issues of the day, as well as striving for thoroughgoing doctrinal purity. Who wrote this? Doesn't give an author's name. But that's also always a current argument in the party, is what form should the platform take? I agree with this statement. You can't be libertarian if you don't say solidly libertarian things. I think the platform, the statement of principles, the ideological statements put out by the party need to be the North Star. That does not mean that every candidate has to agree with it. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have your few heresies. But how do you know if you're deviating if you don't have the plumb line? The convention delegates gave depth to the previously skimpy foreign policy section by adding planks on presidential war powers, the Middle East. Should we go look at what? That would be so timely, wouldn't it? Let's go to Elpedia and let's see what the 1976 platform said about the Middle East. So, platform 1976. Let's see if we can pull this up. And I'm just going to search for the Middle East. It's an entire plank. This isn't long. I'll read to you what it says. This is really good, though. The Middle East. We call upon the United States government to cease all interventions in the Middle East, including military and economic aid, guarantees, and diplomatic meddling, and to cease its prohibition of private foreign aid, both military and economic. That is fantastic. That is short and sweet, but that is absolutely fantastic. Maybe we need to get and not just single out the Middle East, but I think it would be kind of cool to get in our platform again. Oh, I drank that soda too quickly. To get in our platform again, that the government, we already have in our platform, our non-interventionist policy. But we really need to put back in there, and the government shouldn't prohibit private actors within the country from going and assisting if they want to. There are all kinds of laws against that, by the way. Okay, independence for American colonial dependencies and nuclear disarmament. Other new planks were on government secrecy, freedom of religion, federal secret police activity, the Postal Service, Social Security, the Civil Service, and campaign finance laws. Throughout the two-day platform debate, holy crap, they debated platform for 2 days. The 2024 convention schedule is up on the convention website, by the way. I really hate to break it to y'all. You'll see it. And of course, convention delegates can always move to amend the agenda. And we do have additional time on Monday, but the way we have to, as a convention committee, put up business, it's the order of business that's in our convention standing rules. That can only be amended by the convention. Platform's only getting 90 minutes. That is really short. But again, if people want to continue platform on Monday, we will have time for that. Unless our time is wasted through the time-wasting stuff we saw in 2022. And some of the, yes, they were fun, but not for everyone to spend thousands of dollars to get to the convention floor to be, and listen, I find this funny. But again, respect your fellow delegates. Do not move resolutions on whether or not birds are real and whether or not the chair race should be decided by a cage match. That is just not respectful to people who spent $5,000, $6,000 to get there, taking time away from work and their family, and then we don't get to all of business. Yes, that's my pet peeve. Just like, was it 2016, where someone moved that Harry Potter is the greatest books of all time. That is just so disrespectful to your fellow convention delegates. But anyway, y'all are going to do what y'all are going to do. Okay, throughout the two-day platform debate, discussion on the convention floor was relatively harmonious and without rancor. Well, that's nice. As various elements in and wings of the party sorted out their differences. You mean they didn't spend the next 2 years just calling the people they don't agree with bigots? That's proven so effective these past 2 years. Why didn't they think of that in the 70s? Leading spokespersons within the LP for opposing interpretations of how to apply the Libertarian credo to public issues made numerous efforts to find language for the platform that took account of the legitimate concerns of their opponents. And I actually think that, in fact, was done. Some people just refused to accept that. But when it came to the deletion of the irrational and repugnant language, for one thing, there already was a compromise in that the only way, without the suspension of the rules that they did, to get rid of that language would have been to delete that whole platform plank, which laid out our position on negative rights, and that would have been a real loss. But because some people were not willing to just scream at other people and call them bigots, they did work together to suspend the rules to just amend that portion. And remember, the language we have now was crafted by Spike Cohen as a unity statement. And I think the statement we have in our platform is way better. Now, I didn't vote for any of those deletions because I knew it would turn into the drama shitstorm that it is. Not that I thought it was justified, it's just that I know libertarians. But the statement that we ended up with is way, way better. The people that are still just clinging onto that old thought police language, I'm sorry, you're just not demonstrating a level of maturity. Now, being upset over the deletion of the abortion plank is much more understandable. I didn't vote for that either, by the way. But that's much more significant, even though that statement didn't, that platform plank really didn't say very much either. But ideologically, it's much more significant than the dumb thought police language that people, speaking of, what was it that Rothbard said? shibboleths, political shibboleths. Well, that's one right there. All right, getting further. Such dialogue brought sobriety of language to the planks on disarmament, governmental secrecy, and secret police, and ensured that these planks had the backing of a fundamentally united party. The new foreign policy section begins with a reworded preamble, which now tells of the traditional libertarian approach to foreign relations. It points to the history of libertarian opposition to collective security, intervention abroad, and American imperialism. A new plank on disarmament calls for international negotiations aimed at nuclear disarmament. The LP takes a firm position in opposition to global mass destruction. That's usually good to oppose. I'm kind of opposed to global mass destruction. At the same time, the plank warns that precautions to protect lives and property must figure prominently in any disarmament procedure. And another new plank, the LP calls on the U.S. government to cease its involvement in the Middle East. Further, additional foreign policy planks call for giving independence to U.S. colonial possessions, including Puerto Rico, and for ending existing presidential powers to initiate war. New specifics in the foreign military policy plank. This is worded really wordy. This column was desperately in need of an editor. Call for withdrawal from U.S. bases abroad and from all treaties which commit the U.S. to intervention. We have always been a non-interventionist party. A revision of the plank on the international money system calls for American withdrawal from the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, and for the abandonment of all plans for world paper money. Now we're dealing with world digital money. In the aftermath of Watergate and recent disclosures about government secret police activities, the LP delegates sought to apply libertarian principles to current problems in this area. A major enunciation. A major addition to the civil liberties section was a new plank on governmental secrecy. See the way this author, again, it doesn't say who wrote it, just kept repeating themselves? This could have been cut in half and been much more boom, boom, punchy. This carefully crafted plank condemns the government's use of secret classifications to keep information from the public. As a consequence, the LP favors holding persons guiltless who disclose classified information. Boy, this is just shades of Edward Snowden, like presciently, though. Unless such disclosure reveals important defense plans or violates the privacy of private citizens or firms. Another important new civil liberties plank called for the abolition of the CIA, of the FBI, and a return to the American tradition of local law enforcement. Applying the axioms of individual rights to medical services, the LP opposed all laws limiting the liability of doctors for negligence and regulating the supply of legal services provided on a contingency fee basis. What is that all about? I don't even understand that sentence. Let's go see if we can find contingency in here. We oppose, it just regurgitates what it said. I don't understand this. I'm going to read it again. We oppose laws limiting the liability of doctors for negligence. I get that. And those regulating the supply of legal aid on a contingency fee basis. Oh, I understand it now. I'm not so sure if there are still these laws or if it's state by state. But what I'm gathering from this, because most medical malpractice suits or even personal injury suits are done on a legal contingency fee basis because the lawyer's taking a chance on the case. So you probably see those advertisements, you know, we get no money unless you get money type of thing. And it seems like it was a problem in the 70s of maybe some over-regulation or limiting what lawyers could do in that regard. I have to say I'm ignorant of the history of this in the 70s, but that seems to be what it's about. We also said in 76, we oppose laws which invalidate settlements of malpractice suits through the use of private arbitration services. I don't do med-mal, so I don't know if that's still prohibited. We also favor the deregulation of the medical insurance industry. We call for check this out. We call for the repeal of laws compelling individuals to submit to medical treatment. I think that would include vaccines. This next part definitely would. Testing, or to the administration of drugs or other substances. We were ahead of the time in the 70s there. The LP platform plank on energy policy comes out against all policies to compel energy independence. And I think we can apply that today to compelling green energy. The Rockefeller plan for $100 billion Energy Development Authority is opposed with wording that condemns all government subsidies for energy research, development, and operation. The plank offers various suggestions for freeing the market in oil, including repeal of state-level pro-rationing laws, decontrol of oil prices, and denationalization of public lands. Other highlights of the new platform included calls for the repeal of juvenile status crimes. I'm not even sure what that is. What's a juvenile status crime? It's illegal for you to be a juvenile. That would have prevented Twitter. Okay, bada bing. We're going to look that up. Amnesty for deserters as well as draft refusal. Full justice and rights for homosexuals. Repeal of compulsory no-fault insurance, repeal of right-to-work laws, and opposition to the recreation of the Reconstruction Finance Corporation in an effort to subsidize uneconomic businesses. That was a mouthful, but let's go look at juvenile status crimes. What is that, like truancy? Or the words, I'm having a lethologica, the word for not being allowed out after a certain time. Curfew, is that what it's talking about? Juvenile doesn't appear anywhere in this platform. Status? Let's look up minor. Oh, okay, it's they use the word minor here instead of juvenile. It says, we advocate the repeal of all laws establishing any category of crime applicable to minors for which adults would not be similarly answerable, and an end to the practice in many states of jailing children accused of no crime. There has to have been a contemporary controversy that was going on over that. What would be a crime that you could only convict a minor of that an adult? This has to be a 70s thing. Maybe someone can let me know. Well, truancy, I guess, would be one, but not too sure. All right, that is all we are covering today. And let's see here. Yeah, we've got some more for the rest of this month. But not really sure what I'm going to be doing over the weekend, but got a bunch of stuff in the hopper. I hope you all have an awesome night. Probably will not be streaming tomorrow. It's supposed to be date night. Friday night's supposed to be date night where Wayne and I sit and we're watching Black Mirror, which we had never watched before. So that's probably what I will be doing tomorrow. So Saturday will probably be the next streaming day. So until then, I hope you have an awesome Friday night and weekend. Mi guapas de Libertad.
gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians, or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business, not because